This has been a long time coming. What up, bitches? It's your girl, Madisonthecat, aka Deed, and wow, not only am I shown in such great quality, which means you can see every ounce of unquality I am, but I have not touched this channel for years, and there's a reason why. This video is going to be not only very important, to me at least, but the first step to what this channel is going to be all about from now on. This isn't going to be like a typical update video, but it is going to explain why I haven't been filming for years now. And I have been trying to film this exact video, talking about these exact things, for years. Like, I've been genuinely trying. And hopefully this is finally going to be the one take that I'm happy with. So, let's start from the beginning. Childhood and youth. I grew up in an environment where mental health was not taken seriously. Yes, we're going that route. Mental health, anything stereotypically negative about mental health, you got it. Depression, yeah, you just sad. Suicide, pff, you fucking coward. Just anything negative about mental health, that's the environment I was around. So for a very, very long time, I was convinced that I couldn't have any issues about myself mentally because you'd be seen as a freak or abnormal, and I didn't want that. So I was in denial and pushed everything down and convinced in my mind everything's fine. Everything's fine. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm normal. Everything's fine. Eventually, I had to get the fuck out of that environment. So the second that I turned 18, I moved out. And when I moved out, that was when I started getting physical symptoms. And that's when I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to admit that there was something wrong with me. And at the time, admitting that was like being in defeat. And it was a tough battle, because even though I finally made the first step to coming to terms with it, I still had to go through a thunderstorm of shit. It took years for me just to seek counseling, just to seek a therapist, which sucked. And my experiences in the past with therapy, awful. But I did research along the way, and this is a common thing people do. I don't recommend people necessarily doing this, but I did self-diagnose. I did do research, and I learned about things. And I was confident that I had it, but I didn't officially say I had it until I saw a professional, which is what I genuinely believe what most people should do. I understand why people self-diagnose, but at the same time, I think it's better to get to seek a professional, so that way they can confirm to you, yes, I agree with you. And, well, I was diagnosed with PTSD, also known as post-traumatic stress disorder. Most refer to it as post-traumatic stress, because it's not necessarily a disorder, because this is something that's given to you. If you don't know, most people, 1 in 4 people who go through something traumatic will develop PTSD. I am fairly certain I have complex PTSD, however. And the reason for that is because complex PTSD is essentially PTSD, but 10 times worse. I'm not gonna go into all the nitty-gritties. I'm just gonna show an image that explains the differences between PTSD and complex PTSD, so that way you can get that out of the way. But unfortunately, I haven't been able to get that officially diagnosed. So as of now, I have PTSD. I'm certain I have complex PTSD, but as of now, I've only been diagnosed with PTSD. So that is what I will call it. When it comes to complex PTSD, basically, in order to, be diagnosed with it, you have to have a snowball effect of trauma. Basically, throughout your youthhood or teenage years, you have to have trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. Basically, you have a shit ton of complex trauma that overlap with each other, and you deal with a lot of other symptoms alongside the regular PTSD symptom stuff. And that fits up my alley, because oh my god, my entire childhood was filled with that. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty details of my trauma. That's another day, because there's a lot. But there is a lot of emotional, psychological, physical, sexual abuse. Just to give a little bit of an understanding. Essentially, I had no childhood. I had no childhood at all. Didn't get to experience an actual childhood, which sucks. And, the fact that I lived in an environment that was very negative about mental health, and I had to learn until I moved out and came to terms with it. PTSD is a bitch. It's like a scar. It's a scar that will never go away, because for most, those who develop PTSD, it's temporary. But if it goes not only undiagnosed but untreated, it can be permanent. And unfortunately, because it took so many years for me not to just acknowledge it, but to seek a professional, it's permanent for me. This is something that I have to live with, whether I like it or not. And it sucks, because it's something that it's not genetic, it's something that's essentially given to you. On top of the trauma, on top of the nightmares, the flashbacks, the triggers, it's just a whole heaping bag of, fuck you! This is what you're dealing with now. And unfortunately, it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop, because even though I got my diagnosis, even though I finally understood, I'm different. My brain is legit wired differently than others because of what I went through. But that doesn't make me any less of a person. But the fact that I was coming to terms with myself, not only did I deal with more traumatic experiences along the way, but people in my life who I thought were good for me, people in my life who I thought were good people, turned out to be very toxic, very disrespectful towards me, and even caused some of those new traumatic experiences. And it's been a lot. The abuse that I went through was my abusers. It didn't end, because even though I was away from them, I still technically wasn't away from them, because I still lived in my hometown. I still lived where all my abusers lived at the time, and it was a safety concern. So I decided to make a giant step for me, and that was to move away. Move away to a completely different state, so I could feel not only safer, to just genuinely go outside, because I was sheltered before 2020. Before the whole stuff hit in 2020. I'd been living that life for years before the 2020 stuff happened, and you know what I'm talking about. But I decided to pack up all my bags, move to a new state, finally officially start this journey of healing and coping with my PTSD and live with not only my someone I consider like a close, like best bud, but my lovely partner. And I've been a lot happier since. And I feel confident enough to not only finally talk about this, because of how long I've been silenced about this. The fact that I couldn't even openly talk about my PTSD because how ashamed and how scared I was. I'm done. They can't keep me silenced forever. And eventually, I'm gonna talk about my experiences in life. I'm gonna talk about the things I've went through. That's one of the things that I want to do with this channel. And not only that, but just continue my do reviews and a bunch of other dumb shit. But no, again, I want this channel to be focused on myself. Because I deserve a place to speak for myself. I deserve a platform to talk about it. I can't speak on behalf of all other survivors of things I might have went through, but I'm going to talk for myself. And that's why I'm now making content again. That's why I'm now talking about this. So that is why I haven't been making content for years. But that finally ends. With that said, stay tuned for more content. I will be streaming on Twitch, and I even started a channel with my lovely boyfriend. It's a Let's Play channel. It's going great, and having him in my life and him being one of the only support I had, because again, people who I thought were supportive and were good, they weren't. So at the end of the day, I didn't have any support aside from him. He's the best. He even has a channel too, and I think you should check it out as well. All that shit will be listed down below, of course, or that little card thing in the corner that all YouTubers do. But how I want to end this is mental health should be taken more seriously, and I'm glad it is nowadays, but if you lived in an environment like me, or surrounded by people who secretly were just disrespecting you and not caring about the fact you went through trauma, or were just genuinely pushing this negative narrative about mental health towards you, fuck them. Absolutely just fuck them. I went through some horrible shit, and I didn't deserve to be treated the way I was and disrespected over something that I didn't even fucking control. I can't control my triggers. I can't control the trauma that I fucking went through. I can't. It's something that I'm gonna live with for the rest of my life. It's something that I'm gonna have to cope with. And the fact that I wasn't even given the simplest ounce of human decency, oh, fuck them. And I just hope people grow up in environments nowadays that are more positive towards mental health. So that way people don't suffer the way I did and feel like they have to be in denial for years until they see physical symptoms, because hey, mental health can cause physical symptoms, and that fucking sucks. But also, like, they don't have to, when they finally come to terms with it, they don't have to feel like they're ashamed or in defeat, because you're not. If anything, learning that I have PTSD, possibly complex PTSD, has made life a little easier, because now I can learn the ways to not only heal but cope with it and live a much more relaxing life and not be so stressed all the time, you know? But yeah. So with that said, I hope you stick around. If you have stuck around ever since I first started making videos, wow, oh my god, you stayed for that long. Thank you. But also, if you're new or just came across this, I hope you stay a while. Or not, it's up to you. I can't control you. Nobody can. But with that said, I will be seeing you, lovely freaks, later in the next video. Take care.